Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're having our 1-year anniversary of Nihility Only. Kind of, it's actually only been 10 months, but we're gonna round up today. We have now been playing Nihility Only for 1 year total, using only Nihility characters to beat as much content as we can in Honkai Star Rail. Today, we're going to be doing a full account update, going over all my builds, everything I've done over my time on this account, and also give you guys an update on the future of this challenge and some of my goals for the possible future of it. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're coming really close to hitting 100,000 subscribers, and when we hit it, we're going to be doing a couple fat giveaways of the $140 Oneric Shard Pack. So for a chance to enter that, make sure to subscribe, and let's get in to today's video. So today's episode of Nihility Only will not technically be one of the numbered episode. It's going to be kind of his own standalone thing. Something I've kind of come to realize as Nihility goes on is I never really actually show you guys any of my builds. We just kind of go into stuff, and I don't really talk much on how any of my characters are actually built. But before we get into characters, let's look at some of my other ways which I progressed the account. One of which is the data bank and how many characters I have so far. So this is a list of all the characters I've been able to obtain on the Nihility Only account. Obviously, the only ones we really care about are the Nihility characters, and luckily for us, we have all of them. As far as I remember back, I don't think we've ever lost a 50-50 on this account. We can see that I won the 50-50 for Acheron, also won the 50-50 for Black Swan. It was the same thing for the light cones. We won both the 75-25s for both their light cones. So fortunately, we got pretty lucky on this account. Other than episode 1 when we rolled for Silverwolf and I had to spend money. Silverwolf, so I can start the challenge. If I don't get her, I cannot start. These 3 stars are such pain. Please give me Silverwolf. No, please. No. In terms of how many dupes I've got of these characters through summoning, the 5 stars, I don't think I have any Eidolons on. Eidolon 0 Kafka, Eidolon 0 Acheron, Eidolon 0 Black Swan, 0 Silverwolf, and 1 Welt. I did get another copy of Welt. In episode 2, we were lucky enough to get him on our very first departure warp. And this is number 10. Please be Welt. No way! No way! Oh my gosh! So as you can see, this account has been extremely lucky. As for our 4 stars, if you remember the last episode, we literally just got Eidolon 6 Pela. Our Sampo is Eidolon 2. Our Luka is Eidolon 6. And then our Guinaifen is Eidolon 4. So most of our 4 stars are almost maxed out. As for our data bank Nihility light cones, we should have almost all of them. I rolled for most of the 5-star Nihility light cones. The only one I haven't rolled for was Incessant Rain. I did actually roll for the Kafka light cone. I just lost the 75-25 for it. I think this is the 10th and final pull. Let the luck peak at this very moment. Please, God. Oh my gosh, we lost a 25% chance. But if this light cone ever does have a rerun, we will probably go for it again. But other than that, we have all of the 4-star light cones and most of the 5-star light cones in the game. As for our inventory, we have a lot of materials. This is mostly because you don't need to spend many materials when only upgrading a small amount of characters. Currently, we have 9 total characters which we can upgrade, and most of them are already maxed out in terms of their level. So it just so happens that we're just going to have like a ton of traveler's guides, adventure logs, and a lot of stuff like that. On Nihility Only, we actually tend to farm a lot of food, especially these prayer machines, which have been the most clutch item since the start of Nihility Only. And so far, this has been my only way to find any sustain thus far in this series. As for my special items, we have 1 self-modeling resin, which we may use today. And other than that, nothing too much to see here. We have a ton of fuel that I should probably get on using. And we actually have another 10 pull. Well, why don't we use it? Surely we're going to get something good here. Or not. Well, you never know. There could still be a Nihility 4-star. Never mind. Now that we've looked at my inventory, seen what characters and light cones I have, why don't we take a more in-depth look into the actual characters. I'm going to go over all 9 of my characters that I have on this account. I'll leave timestamps in case you're interested in any particular one on this video. But before we do that, let's just start out by going over all of their traces, because the traces are pretty much the same for every character. Almost all of my characters are either 999 or 101010. The only outlier in that group being Black Swan, who is still missing a couple things which I still need to get. But other than Black Swan, Guinaifen 999, same thing with Silverwolf, Welt, Luka, Sampo, and Pela are all 999. The only unit which is 101010 is currently Acheron, because she is insane. But now, let's go over some of our builds. We'll start with the 4 stars. Let's start out with Pela. Pela is currently on the Resolution Signs of Pearls of Sweat light cone. As for her relic set, she's on a bit of a weird relic set right now just because I need particular stats for her. So she doesn't have a full 4-piece at the moment. The stats I try to prioritize on Pela were like effect hit rate, attack percent. I want to get some speed on her. So we're running effect hit rate body with 7 speed. And then we have speed boots with some more attack and effect hit rate. That's my Pela build. She has 2.4k attack, 137 speed, and then 69% effect hit rate. Sampo. Now this is an example of a light cone which is not that good, but I really didn't have any other options for him. Fermata is not my favorite light cone ever, but there really isn't a better choice that I had for him on my account because every other character is already holding a light cone that would be better for him. So I'm kind of forced into using Fermata, but it is what it is. Then for his 4-piece relic set, we're using Prisoner in Deep Confinement, which you'll see as a reoccurring theme on a lot of these characters. Unfortunately, I was not able to get 134 speed on Sampo. I like to try to get at least 134 speed on every character. Currently, we have 61% effect hit rate, and then we also have 2.8k attack. So Sampo is basically done for the most part. Next up is Luka. Light cone is solitary healing, which again isn't great for him, but I don't have many other alternatives. Relics, we're running on a 4-piece Prisoner in Deep Confinement. And then we're still working on his 2-piece. We haven't finished it yet. I need to get a better rope and a better orb for him, which honestly I've just not found yet. We're still working on trying to get a physical damage orb. So that's going to give Luka 2900 attack, 135 speed, and 55% effect hit rate. Next up, Guinaifen is going to be on Eyes of the Prey, which is actually a pretty decent light cone, which I do like for her. For Guinaifen, we're prioritizing the exact same stats. We want effect hit rate, we want speed, and then honestly, these defense and HP stats look bad, but in all honesty, for Nihility Only, because we don't have any way to sustain, HP and defense are actually never wasted stats in this challenge. So anytime you see a stat like that on this build, you may consider it bad, but for me, it's actually pretty good. We also have attack percent body, speed boots, fire damage orb, and attack percent rope. And that's going to give us 2.7k attack, 135 speed, and 68% effect hit rate. Next up is Silverwolf. She has debatably her best in slot, which is before the tutorial mission starts. Again, this is going to sound really repetitive, but we're prioritizing the same stats that we do on every character, like speed, effect hit rate. But honestly, these stats are just the best for every Nihility character. So although it's boring, it's just what we need to do. Nothing too groundbreaking there. It's going to give us 142 speed and 116 effect hit rate, which is honestly all you really need for Silverwolf. Next up is Welt, who is a little more interesting than the rest of the characters on our account because he is actually a character that we do not build on the basic stats like we do every other Nihility character in the game. He's a little more unique. We have him on In the Name of the World, which is a great light cone for him. And currently we're working on a 4-piece Pioneer Diver of Dead Water set for him. We haven't finished it yet, but we're still working on it. We're working through it. Welt is unique because he's one of the only Nihility characters which we actually choose to prioritize crit stats on. So you'll notice like a ring here, for example, which we missed the crit stats every time and got HP, but is what it is. And then we have crit rate body, speed boots, which is pretty nice, and then imaginary damage orb and HP percent rope. That's going to give us a nice 131 speed. Again, this Welt build is a work in progress. We need to optimize a lot of these pieces. So right now you'll notice that he has kind of like an abysmal crit ratio and not the greatest speed in the world, but it is something that we're working on and hoping to make better in the future. Next up, Black Swan. We have her signature light cone, obviously. And then for her relics, we're going to have 4-piece Pioneer and then 2-piece Space Sealing Station. We have speed boots, effect hit rate body, wind damage boost, and attack percent rope, which is going to give us a nice 3.1k attack, 141 speed. We don't really care about our crit ratio. And then we also have 110% effect hit rate, a pretty decent Black Swan build if I say so myself. Next up, Kafka, one of the first 5 stars we got. She is on a good night's sleep well, which I was able to super in position 5, which has been absolutely clutch for us. She is on also a 4-piece prisoner set and a 2-piece Fairmont Frontlight Glamis set. We have an attack percent body, we got a pair of speed boots, lightning damage orb, and attack percent rope, which is going to give us a nice 3.3k attack, 137 speed, and 33% effect hit rate, although effect hit rate doesn't matter as much on Kafka as it does our other Nihility characters. Last up, and finally, the last character, Acheron, who is probably the build I'm most proud of on this account. We have her on her signature light cone, we have her on a 4-piece Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters, and a 2-piece Izumo Gensei and Takama Divine Realm. That's a bit of a tongue twister. With Acheron, we don't really care about speed. We don't really care about effect hit rate. We care more about our attack and our crit ratio. So on a lot of these pieces, we're just trying to get as much crit as possible. We have a really nice crit body here with 25% crit damage, which was a really nice pickup. Attack percent boots because we don't care about speed. Lightning damage boost. And then we also have a nice little attack percent rope. Currently, we're sitting at 56 to 181 crit rate and crit damage, with 3.7k attack and also 46% lightning damage bonus. A very decent Acheron build, which has been super clutch for us and is probably my best built character on my entire account. And that, my friends, is all our characters. Keep in mind, a lot of these builds are not completely finished. A lot of them are works in progress, because right now I'm trying to find a good balance on a lot of characters between like how much defense and HP I need to have enough sustain for the harder battles in the game versus how much I should prioritize the basic attack percent, effect hit rate for a lot of these Nihility characters. So a lot of it is testing and balancing, and we just kind of have to find the golden ratio, which I'm sure we'll find eventually. So for this last section of the video here, I just want to quickly discuss the future of Nihility Only. So it's been something I've been thinking a lot about recently on what is really our end goal and what I want this series to be. Because as I go further into the series, I start to see that there's less and less content that can be made around it, which was the same thing that happened with Polearms Only and why there's so little content for that series now. Because ultimately, I think all that I can really make content for is the new characters, story missions, and, some unique challenges, like the MOC and Pure Fiction. But the problem with MOC and Pure Fiction is that, to be quite frank, they are either very difficult or somewhere in the impossible range from what I've tried. Some of the footage you're seeing now is from me playing MOC 9, and, it didn't go so well. I wasn't able to beat it, unfortunately, from the few tries I did, but the fact that I'm struggling at MOC 9, I think says a lot about what, the harder stages of MOC will be like. As for Pure Fiction, I don't see that being as hard. I think we'll probably be able to beat that eventually. But one of the end goals that I want this series to have is to be able to beat MOC without using any other types of characters. But I don't know if that will be able to happen until we ever get some sort of character that's like a Nihility character that's able to sustain as well. And I don't know how long we'll have to wait for that character. That being said, I still have other goals that I want in this series, which one of them is just doing all the new story content. Every time they put out a new story, I'm always going to do it with you guys. Story content is something that I've been trying to integrate into my Nihility Only content recently, because it's a way for me to do the story live and you guys can get my honest reactions. But it's not just a full story reaction video, which I personally don't find all that entertaining. Some people do, some people don't. But I can still give you guys my honest reactions to the story and just kind of match it up and put in all the exciting parts and leave out all the boring parts of the story, which is a lot of dialogue bloating. So that's been something I've tried to incorporate into my content recently. Also in Honkai Star Rail, I do enjoy some of the events, and honestly with Nihility Only, it makes some of the events a lot more interesting. So that's something I also want to try to incorporate more of. So I want to try to make this series a little more casual, because to be honest, I'm not a hardcore gamer. I don't do hours and hours of research into the characters, trying to, best optimize my builds. I don't do 8 hours of MOC runs. That's just not something I want to do. So that's kind of my personal perspective on what I want the series to be. It's a lot more of a casual playthrough where we just only use Nihility characters, and that's the fun aspect of it. But I don't want to spend 10 hours of my life going over trying MOC, 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 because honestly, if I do that, I will get burnt out of this series very, very fast, and I really don't want that to happen. But if you guys want more account update videos similar to this, make sure to let me know. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and I'm going to see you all in the next one. Peace.